Is bringing new opportunity to South Omaha with a new job training site. The goal is not just to get people jobs, but good jobs.
6 News' Johan Marin took a tour of the facility today and tells us what this means for South Omaha.
South Omaha is known as a hardworking community, but a lot of people in this area struggle to be fully employed, especially after the pandemic.
We have circumstances where people are employed but still underemployed, maybe are employed but still are a part of a low-income job.
More than 42,000 people in this area are currently living below the poverty line, but Goodwill's new training site could provide a solution.
Goodwill's mission is to strengthen communities through education, training, and work, and we're staying true to that mission.
As people walk into the new site, they'll notice the opportunity is all around. Toby Matthauser, CEO of South Omaha's Goodwill, says the center provides beginning, intermediate, and advanced training in computer skills, resume and cover letter writing, and career enhancement seminars. And for those looking to advance their career, there are training programs to be anything from an accounting technician to a certified nursing assistant.
Some of our programs do encourage a high school diploma. However, if an individual isn't quite at the point of getting their high school diploma or doesn't have their high school diploma, we can help them find resources in the community where they can obtain that, maybe at the same time that they're going through.
On your side, Johan Marin, 6 News.
Well, if you're currently seeking a job and are interested in signing up for the opportunities offered at this job training site, you can visit our website, WOWT.com.
At least